And joining us now for the AARP Consumer Alert is Karen Morgan, volunteer member of the Executive Council of AARP Maryland. Karen, good to have you back in the studio.
I'm very happy to be here, Jeff.
Protect Week is coming up. Tell us about that.
Oh, Protect Week. It is so important. It's a major campaign that AARP Maryland and a number of other partners, like 15 or 16 government and nonprofit organizations, band together every year to shine a spotlight on elder financial abuse and all the problems that this crime creates and what people can do to protect themselves.
What kind of problems does it create? When you're late in life, it can be pretty serious.
It can be devastating. What we've been telling people is that financial abuse, especially when you're older, strikes at the very heart of your survival. If you're in your 70s and your accounts have been wiped out, what are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to get medicine? How are you supposed to get food? It really comes down to stuff that's that visceral. So that's why it's so important. It's not trivial. It is serious.
How does it typically happen? And who are the perpetrators? I've read that it's frequently people that the victim knows. It could be a family member. It could be a caregiver.
It could definitely be a family member or a caregiver. Oftentimes it is. A lot of times the face of financial abuse is just a text message, an errant text message that you're not expecting, or an email or a call. And it could be, oh, gee, I want to make a connection with you. Oh, that's the wrong number. Well, let's just talk about crypto while we're on the line. Oh, okay. I just happen to be available, so let's do that.
You had mentioned account takeovers. What's that?
Account takeovers can take a couple of forms. One is if somebody gets a hold of your identifying information without your permission, and they find your accounts and they steer the contact information about changes in those accounts to their email or their postal mail so that you don't even know that the account has been commandeered. And they can take loans, they can get loans in your name, they can do all kinds of nefarious things, and you may not know about it because you're never contacted.
Are senior citizens necessarily more vulnerable to this?
That is the conventional wisdom, but what AARP research has found is that people across all age spectrums are vulnerable to financial abuse. The difference between people who are younger and people who are older is that people who are younger tend to report it more often, but because they don't have the assets generally available, they lose less on a per capita basis. People who are 60s and older may report fewer instances, but because they have more assets between retirement, investment accounts, and all kinds of other things, their per capita loss is significantly greater.
Yeah, who was it who said he robbed banks because that's where the money was? I mean, it's the same idea.
Wasn't that Willie Horton? Somebody like that, yes.
Because older people hopefully have accumulated some assets for retirement,
and they've paid off their homes.
Yeah.
So so their home is free and clear, and right. So they have just cash sitting around. Maybe
a little bit more trusting, maybe more likely to answer a phone call with no caller ID that you recognize than I would, for example.
Maybe, but I think some of that is stereotypical too. I mean, the people who are older that I know never answer the phone, but it only takes one time. The criminals only have to be right once. We have to be right 100% of the time. There's a real gap there.
Talk about some of your partners in Protect Week and how they can help with this effort.
Well, this actually began, I would say, like 7 years ago with the Comptroller of Maryland. The Comptroller of Maryland was part of like a group of state and local agencies and nonprofits meeting about elder abuse. It was called the Protect. It was like a Protect group, and one day it was sort of like, gee, we need to get out more information about elder financial abuse. How can we do that? So they started developing written materials, and all of these other groups started saying, well, maybe there's more we can do. So AARP Maryland, local area agency, community groups started pulling together the resources and saying, well, why don't we get out webinars? Why don't we provide some written information? Why don't we make it free? Why don't we do shred events? And so AARP Maryland's been a big part of that, but so have our partners.
I love shred events. Something
Yeah.
so therapeutic about it. So you have some coming up.
Yes, we have shred events coming up from all over the state during Protect Week, which is from June 10th to June 17th. It always coincides with World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which is always observed on June 15th. So we make sure that our Protect Week activities incorporate that particular day. The shred events will happen during that week, and we also have a telethon hall that will be happening Thursday where people can call in and get experts to answer their questions. We will kick off everything with an official press conference on June 10th, and again, experts will be there to be interviewed and to provide information about what their agencies are doing to help. And we will do social media interviews. I am one of the lead volunteers. I'll be doing that. And another lead volunteer, Ted Meyerson, will also be conducting social media interviews during the week.
Very good. Couple of pieces of legislation from the General Assembly that we just want to quickly highlight because they could be effective here.
They could be. Yes, this was a great year for consumer protection. So there was a bill, it's Senate Bill 760, became Chapter 463, the Gift Card Fraud Prevention Act of 2024. That will go into effect in 2025, and it will set up guidelines for merchants and for gift card manufacturers to follow with regard to how gift cards are made to make them less susceptible to tampering, and training of employees so that they can more effectively spot signs of people who are subject to abuse. So that's one thing. And then Chapter 731 and 732, House Bill 475 and Senate Bill 675 are bills that the comptroller wanted the legislature to consider. They were passed and enacted, and it has to do with holding individual tax preparers more accountable for scams, because there are scammy tax preparers out there who will commandeer personal information and use that to steal tax returns.
Let's be careful out there. Karen Morgan with AARP Maryland. Thanks for stopping by.
Happy to do that. Thank you, Jeff.